Well, hello there, friend. Andrew Najera here at Drew Installs Hardware. Today, we are going to be talking about rough openings. Rough openings. Yeah, rough openings is a question I get asked a lot about by customers. There's lots of different frame types, and that what comes with that is lots of different rough opening sizes for those types of frames. So today I'm going to cover about 4 different types of frames, go over how those rough opening sizes are calculated, and kind of also through different types of frames, because you have something like a single door, you'll have a window, you'll have a frame with a side light. So we'll just quickly go over how we calculate the different rough opening sizes. And the principles are, they're going to have specific information from the manufacturer. The principles basically, the rough opening needs to be big enough for the frame to fit in and for us to be able to plumb and level it. But it can't be too big where the structural stability of the frame and door is compromised, right? So it's got to be a solid install, but also has to fit in there, right? So that's the principle. And in my world, there's 2 different types of frames for the most part. As far as there's frames that get installed before sheetrock, and then there's frames that get installed after sheetrock. So I'll go over both different types, and also, like I said, we'll have 4 different types of frames. Hollow metal strap frames that go in before sheetrock, and then the next 3 would go in after sheetrock. We have timely knockdown frames, aluminum knockdown frames, and then hollow metal knockdown frames. And we'll work through all the different rough opening sizes. So to get us started though, let me show you, we'll just start with a drawing of our different types. Okay, that's a door. I'm gonna call that a window, okay? This is fun for me. I enjoy this. And then down here, let's make a door, but with a side light. Okay, door with a side light. So we'll say side light frame. So those are the 3 kind of that we'll calculate for these different ones. And I'm realizing how squeaky my chair is right now. Hey, I need to fix that. So we're going to use just one size throughout all of these, just to show you how we do it. So the only thing then that would change would be if your door width changes. So the most standard door width we see on jobs is what we call 3.0, meaning the door itself is, or the opening, once the frame's set, the opening inside is 3 feet. So that's also 36 inches. And then for height, commonly what we see is we'll see 7.0 for the height. So 7.0 for the height. So 7.0, which is like just got to double check myself. 7.0, 84 inches. Oh, okay. Math is hard. Whoop, 84 inches. 84 inches. And then so for a window, we'll use 3.0 also, and we'll use 3.0 for the height as well, because most of the time I'm not setting windows that are much bigger than that. So a 3.0 by 3.0 window, and then for the side light, we'll go with a 3.0 door, and then a 2.0 side light. So that's 3-foot door, 2-foot window next to it. Okay, and that'll be so it's 36. That's 24. I could do that math in my head, and 7.0 as well. Okay, and this is just what we'll use for calculating these different types. So we'll start then. Let's start with the hollow metal frame with straps. Okay, so here we'll go hollow metal with straps. So for a hollow metal frame with straps, your rough opening for just a single door is going to be the door size plus the frame face here and the frame face here, plus 1/2 inch. So what that looks like is we have our nominal door height. So let's go say for a single door, the width is going to be 36 plus the frame faces. On a hollow metal frame, normally you have a 2-inch frame face here and a 2-inch frame face here. So you're going to add your frame faces. So that's basically, now that's the overall width of the whole frame. And then you're going to add half an inch. So for a standard 3.0 hollow metal frame that's getting set with straps before sheetrock, the width of your rough opening is going to be 40.5 inches. The door width, the door size, the 2 frame faces, and then a ½ inch for extra space to get it in and to move it around. Your height is going to be calculated the same way. So our height of the door is 7.0, which is 84 inches, plus the frame face. Here we only have one frame face at the head, which is 2 inches wide, typically. Now, how much extra space do I need for the head? Well, the Steel Door Institute says 3/8 of an inch. Okay, so let's say that's the minimum. What do I see in the field most of the time? Most of the time in the field, I see 1 inch. So I'm going to say 1 inch, okay? So if we add that up, the height for a standard 3.0/7.0 door for the rough opening would be 87 inches, okay? Pretty simple, right? So that formula works if it's, a 4.0 door, a 42-inch door, we say 3.0, 3.6, 4.0, what have you. If it's a pair, 6.0, okay, you get it. It's pretty straightforward. Now for a window, it's basically the same thing, but you're going to have 2 frame faces on the height, so you just have to consider that. So for a window, it's going to be, for our width, it's going to be 36 inches plus 4 inches because I have 2-inch frame face, 2-inch frame face, plus ½ an inch, right? So that, again, is 40.5 for the width. What about the height? Well, we're going to calculate that same number. Do you have to add a whole inch for the height because we did it for the door? I don't think so. I mean, it fits in. It's going to fit in. So I would say it's going to be the same way, but a lot of times these windows line up. They want the door here to line up with the window. So I'd imagine they could do it the same way. Let's say they do it the same way. So say they do it the same way as the door. And you could probably tell I'm not a framer, but I set these, in the field. So that would be 41. Math is hard. Okay, 41 inches. That would cover that. For the side light, again, it's going to be our nominal door width plus our nominal side light width plus the frame faces. And you see we have an extra frame face here, don't we? So it's going to be 36 and 24, 3 feet and 2 feet, which adds up to 5 feet, which adds up to 60. Okay, math is good. So for the width, we're going to go 60 inches, and we're going to go plus 246, plus we'll give ourselves ½ an inch to make sure it fits and that we can move it around. And that's going to be, so that'll be 66.5 inches for the width for I'd call that like a 5.0, 7.0 side light pair. And then for the height, we're going to go 84, which is the 7.0. And then we have a 2-inch frame face. And then we'll give ourselves 1 inch for clearance. So 86, 87 inches. So that's how I would calculate all 3 of those for a hollow metal strap frame for the rough opening. I said I'm not a framer, right? So why do I even need to know this? Well, when I show up to a job to start setting hollow metal frames, before I spread all those frames, I'm just going to walk around with my tape measure and start measuring the openings, right? Let me see if they're framed correctly before I try to fit them in. Now, let's say the rough opening was too narrow, okay? Can I still fit that frame in? Yes, I probably can. Let's say it's too low. can I still fit that frame in? Yes. If it's too narrow and too low, no, I can't fit the frame in. But if just one of those conditions exists, I can probably still fit the frame in because there's that hollow gap inside the frame. So I can either dip it in like this if it's too low, or I can come in sideways if it's too narrow. The problem is though, do I still have enough room to plumb and level that baby? So that's what's important. Being able to plumb and level, it's the most important. Sometimes you can, we call it kicking in frames because man, sometimes we're kicking them. So yeah, sometimes you can make it fit, but that doesn't mean that you're going to be able to set it plumb and level. So anyway, that covers hollow metal strap frames. What's next? Let's look at the timely frame. Let's look at timely frames because I like setting those. Those are fun to set. A timely frame, it's going to go in after the sheetrock. So actually, it's pretty critical early on for them to know what the rough opening is going to be, isn't it? Okay, so what does timely say for just a regular door? So just a door's rough opening. For the width, we're going to go with the nominal door width, and we're going to go plus an inch and a quarter. Okay. So here we have 36. It's a 3/0 window, and we're going to go plus an inch and a quarter for the rough opening, and that's it. So the rough opening for 3/0 is going to be 37 and a quarter. The height, okay, we're on the door here. Okay, door, yeah. So the height is going to be the nominal height, which is 7/0 or 84 inches, and timely tells us to add an inch. So that's going to be 85 inches for a standard door. For a window, the window is the same as the door, except there's an extra piece, right? So it actually, you treat all the sides like the width, basically, because you have two here. So it's going to be, the width will be 36, the nominal size of the window, plus an inch and a quarter that timely tells us to do. So it'll be 37 and a quarter. The height, which is 36 here, we're not going to do an inch because it tells us to do an inch for the door, but because there's two pieces here, again, it'll be an inch and a quarter. So it'll be 37 and a quarter for this type of window. Side light. Let's do a side light. How do they tell us to do a side light? Let's see, the width. What do they say? Okay, so it's going to be your nominal door width, your nominal window width. Okay, so we can just go like, that's 36 plus 24. Maybe I should have done it that way up there, but which equals 60, right? So that gets us to 60, and then it tells us to add the mullion in. So whatever the width of that mullion is, I believe they have 1.5 and 2-inch mullions. We'll just say it's a 2-inch mullion, okay? But that's the important part. You have to add the mullion in to this width to calculate the rough opening. So that's the door, the window, the mullion, and then our extra space it tells us to add, the 1.25 inches for width. So that's going to be, so that was 60, 62, 63. So that's 63 and a quarter. And then for the height, well, I think the height's going to be the same as all this. It's our nominal door height, which is 7/0, 84 inches, plus it tells us to add 1 inch. Okay, 1 inch. So that equals 85. That's going to be the height for the side light. What about a transom? We've seen them with transoms, right? We can have a transom up here. The transom for the height is the same thing that you did here for the width. You're going to do this nominal, 7/0. Let's say it's 2/0. So it would be 7/0, 2/0, and then you'd add the mullion, and then you'd add an inch. So pretty simple. So that covers timely frames. What kind of frame are we going to do next? How about aluminum? Aluminum. So how do you spell aluminum? We're going to get creative. I'm going to go aluminum frame. So it's like the brands, the brand I think of is like Western Integrated. I think that's the one I've probably set the most of, maybe. Um, but yeah, let's go with aluminum here. So for an aluminum frame, such as like a Western Integrated, for the door, just a regular door, what we're going to have is for the width, it's going to be our nominal door size. So here it would be 36 inches plus an inch and a half. So that's 37 and a half. Okay. For the height, what does it tell us to do for the height? Well, height's just a little bit different. So it's our nominal door height, which is 84 inches. And they say to add 3/4 of an inch. Okay. So that would be 84 and 3/4. Wait, was the Timely the ones that had a different mullion width, or was it these? I can't remember. Maybe Timely's are all the same mullion width. I'll have to look that up. But so that covers a standard door. For a window, the width is your nominal width, which is 36, plus an inch and a half equals 37 and a half. Your height is the same as the width. The way it gets calculated, it's your nominal height plus again an inch and a half, and that equals 37 and a half. One way I'll think about it with a lot of these too is when it's these knockdown Timely's or aluminums as a general thing, I'll think of it like for each piece, I want my rough opening 3/4 of an inch bigger. So like here I have 2 legs there. So I want 3/4 and 3/4. So it's an inch and a half. Now, Timely says an inch and a quarter, but an inch and a half works great. And the aluminum here, you see, it's the same thing here. They have 3/4 and 3/4 basically. So add an inch and a half here, add 3/4 here. When you have 2 of these, you add 3/4, 3/4. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but it kind of makes sense to me. So now let's look at side light. For the width, how are we going to do it? Well, it's going to be the same as the others, where you just take these 2 nominal numbers and you add the mullion width in as well, and then add half an inch. So it's going to be 36 plus 24 plus whatever the mullion is. Is it an inch and a half mullion or is it a 2-inch mullion? We'll say it's a 2-inch mullion. Okay. So 36, 24, 2. And then, like it's telling us to add for all the widths, is an inch and a half. So we add an inch and a half. So that equals 62, 63 and a half. For the height, it's going to be the same as a regular door because that's all that's there. So it's going to be 84. And it's just telling us to add 3/4 of an inch. So it's going to be 84 and 3/4. Now, what if there's a transom here? Okay. Let's say there's a transom. It's going to be the same thing. You're going to go 84 or 70 plus, let's say it's 20. And you're going to add the mullion or this header width to that and then add 3/4 of an inch. So pretty simple. Something to think about too with the Timely and the aluminum frames, when it's metal studs, it's good to invert the stud to where the open part of the stud is facing the rough opening, because that gives it just a little bit of springiness. And we know that depending on how the headers are built with the metal framing, there's a buildup. And I can do another video on throat sizes, because throat sizes are super important and also an issue we run into a lot. But yeah, with the hollow or with the metal studs, they invert them so that the open side is towards the rough opening. It lets them squeeze a little so we can squeeze, because you'll see they'll grow 1/4 of an inch and more sometimes. So for us to fit the frame on without any cupping of the frame, which doesn't look good, especially with aluminum frames. If you got big cupping, that looks trash, man. Like no good. So that's something to just remember. If they can invert the studs, that helps a lot. So we've covered 3 frame types. For the last one, let's look at we'll look at hollow metal knockdown. And this is like a three-piece knockdown. Okay. So the timely and the aluminum are pretty similar. The hollow metal knockdown is a little different. So for the door rough opening, the width is going to be your nominal door width. So it'll be 36. And then it asks us to add 2 inches to the width. So for a standard 3.0 door, your rough opening width would be 38. For the height, it asks us to add 1 inch. So it's your nominal width here, or height, I'm sorry, 84 plus 1 inch, so it's 85. So what's nice about knowing this is that if I got a job with a bunch of frames to set, when I know these numbers and I know what type of frame I'm setting, I can just walk around and just verify before I spread everything, before I unpack everything, before I start kicking a bunch of stuff in. I could just go around and verify everything's right. For a window, the width would be your nominal plus 2, and for your height, it'd be your nominal. For your height, it'd be your nominal plus 2, because you have 2 pieces going on there, right? I don't believe I have ever set a hollow metal knockdown frame with a side light. Now, I may have and just have forgotten. I don't think I have, but I'm trying to remember, because I did not write this one down, but I'm trying to remember. I believe, and you gotta correct me if I'm wrong here, but, and I think these are just much rarer for me. I just don't come across them, but I believe it said to add 3 inches. So for example, it'd be 36.24, so we'd have 60. I believe it said to add 3 inches. And I'm gonna put just a little asterisk here in case I'm wrong. And then, but your height would be the same. It would be, it tells us to add 1 inch for the height. So those are 4 different frame types, 3 different frame styles, and how you would calculate the rough openings for each of those. It's a good thing to know, and it's a question I get asked sometimes. This is just basic guidelines, and you always want to check with the manufacturer. But remember the principle. We need the rough opening big enough for the frame to fit in and for us to plumb and level it, but not too big that it's not a strong, solid install. Because then you just got a whole, like, yeah, it's got to be strong, it's got to be solid, and a lot of, it's for security, so it's got to be tough. Now, we all covered most of this using like a 2-inch frame face. When you have punch and dimple frames that are going in block walls, sometimes those frame faces are like 4 inches. I've had a frame, like on the heads, I've had 4 inches. I've had recent project, we had 4-inch frame faces on the legs for some reason. I don't really understand why, because typically I see it on the head. But anyway, yeah, the principle, it's got to fit and be solid. So I hope this video was helpful. If there's any way you could share it with someone who might like it, that's how the channel grows, and we're growing this thing together. So every time you share it, it helps me out so much. So I appreciate it. Please keep sharing it, and I hope it was helpful in some way to you. So until next time, happy hardwaring.